first Tuesday, and I detect a quorum, so we're going to go on and get started. This is the Rules, Confirmation, and Public Elections Committee, and thank you for coming. We're going to actually start with our elections and confirmation. And at this time, as we get started, we have the reappointment of Mr. Anthony Barton. We have the reappointment of Ms. Colleen Curtis, the reappointment of Ms. Robbie Melton, the reappointment of Mark Rowan, the reappointment of Susan Wright, the reappointment of William Farmer, reappointment of Greg Atkins, the reappointment of Jessica Farr, and the reappointment of Cynthia Capel. All of them are reappointments, and we will actually start with the reappointment for the Mr. Anthony Barton. Could you please come forward? And we also have room for the reappointment of Ms. Colleen Curtis. And if we could get another chair up here, we have Robbie Melton. And they can just make room. There's room at the cross. Thank you so much. Oh my God, Mark Rowan, you can just kind of sit behind, and Susan Wright. You can sit right over here. Y'all can sit right here since they're not here yet. Okay? How about that? Isn't this a wonderful picture? And I'll just start by asking, are each one of you residents of Davidson County? Yes. Are you registered voters in Davidson County? Yes. Are you on any of the boards or commissions? No. Okay, and we'll just start right here, go right around, and if you could tell us a few things about yourself, then we'll ask the committee to ask questions of you and just let you answer to the best of your ability. Okay, we'll start right here.
Sure, I'm Anthony Barton. I currently run the consumer marketing creative teams at CMT Cable Network here in Nashville.
Okay.
I've been with Viacom for 22 years in a variety of jobs. One was working with and directly with our affiliates, so I spent the early part of my career doing that. And I'm excited about serving on the special committee.
Okay, next.
I am Colleen Curtis. I work for the House of Representatives out of District 81. I started on the CET Special Committee with Mayor Dean. So I've been active with television, public television, and also the PIG studios. Originally, that was one of the first and foremost important things to make sure that our local cable access was being funded, and funds were appropriated to our television channel. So I have been doing this for a while, and I just got elected as chairman of the committee last night.
Congratulations. That's very nice. Okay, next, your name?
Hi, I'm Robbie Melton. I served for 25 years as the Associate Vice Chancellor for the Tennessee Board of Regents. I'm currently a full professor at Tennessee State, and I travel to evaluate emerging technology of the Internet of Everything.
That sounds big to me. Okay, next.
Hi, I'm Mark Rowan. I'm a consultant advisor for startups here in Nashville, and just being reappointed after taking the end of Jackie Schrago's term. I was just here a few months ago, but happy to be being reassigned and re-up.
Thank you. And I think we have one more. Do we?
I'm Susan Wright. I own 3 franchises called You Break, I Fix. We repair technology, and I could probably passed out some cards last time I was here on that. Prior to that, I've been in technology for 30 years, and the last 15 at Oracle in enterprise software, Internet of Things. I spent 15 years before that with startups, and so we invented a lot of new technologies that we use today. So been in technology for a pretty long time.
CATV Special Committee. We thank you for being here. Committee members, do we have any questions? No? Okay, let's see, Council Lady.
Since you met last night, so if you were to give us a little bit update, because by the time we see the minute will be like a long time, so we appreciate what kind of agenda you talked about it. Is there any challenge we have or?
No, last night, running the meeting last night was very, I would say it was fast. We had a very smooth, very fluid meeting last night. A wonderful presentation from Comcast, so we could find out exactly what's going on with Comcast. And then we voted on the funds, appropriating the funds for the committee. It was very, very simple. Any other?
And congratulations for the
Yeah,
elected
very
chairman.
simple, yes, and then we
Thank
did our chairman, and we have our vice chairman, Tim Garrett, so.
Okay, let's get one other person to comment and we'll be good. What do you think about the meeting?
Oh, no. Well, one of the things that we voted on in terms
Okay.
of how to appropriate the funds were the PEG Studio, which is nearing the end of its life at Nashville State. Not only just physically, but also the lease is up, and we're able to be well-funded by the time that lease expires, and there's a new building being identified to, take that on, and I think the most exciting part of that is that it would be completely new, right? And so that when we think about technology and all of the people on the committee that have knowledge there, it will be state-of-the-art that day that it opens, of course. That's the next day it starts. But it really feels like, there will be adequate funds to launch in a big way. So that was something that was exciting.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
So obviously, there are no no's, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thanks for the opportunity.
for your service. We have some parking passes if
Yeah, so
anyone
I
needs
sleep
them.
on
Well, that's because you
the
stand.
job because I'm new at this.
But he's so gifted at it. So willing. All we need is a willing heart. Okay, yeah, if you move those chairs
Thank you
back,
for your
young man.
service. Appreciate each one of you.
Just put that one over
Such
there.
rock stars in your area. Appreciate you donating your time.
Perfect. Council lady, would you move that chair over there next to you? Just put it next to you. Thank you so much. Next, we have the Civil Service Commission, the reappointment of Mr. William Farmer for a term expiring March 31st, 2023. Would you please come forward, young man?
Thank you for that.
First of all, are you a resident of Davidson County? You're a registered voter?
I am.
Do you serve on any other boards or commissions?
Do not.
Okay, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am born and raised in Nashville. I went to Father Ryan High School, raised my 3 children here. They all also went to Father Ryan. I'm a practicing lawyer. I've been licensed since 1974. Started with the Justice Department. I was the first federal public defender for this district. Been in private practice since 1987 with former Mayor Purcell then and now, and my son, and 8 other lawyers. I've been on the Civil Service Commission since January of 2000, and I've served as chairman for those years.
Okay, give us a little update on your initial appointment. Tell us a little bit about that. You had,
Back in 2000? Well, let's
from
see.
then to now, what has changed?
Well,
A lot.
a lot has changed. We've gone through the recession, which is very difficult. We have passed several pay plans. We have employees have struggled through some of the years. It's always a concern to us. We've had tremendous help from the Department of Human Resources. They do the legwork of putting together the pay plan. As you all know, the pay plan is very complicated. It has to take into account what other cities are paying. We have to do a fair wage as best we can, and we also are limited by the budget. So it's always a tough balancing act. That's the hardest thing we do. Disciplinary issues always come before us. We have set, since I've been there, there used to be, we had a commissioner would sit as a judge at the initial hearing, and then the matter would be appealed to the commission, and that commissioner would recuse themselves, and we didn't think that was very workable. So all of our cases now go from the appointing authorities discipline to the administrative law judge, and then they render a report, hear the trial, and we review the record and pass on it. And from there, we always tell everyone they have the right to appeal to Chancery Court. Very few appeals. And I don't think, I think we maybe were reversed one time in 18 years. So I think our discipline's doing well. We do policy changes if a department wants to change the policy that they're doing, to make it more open or in any way. We review those. We have a public hearing about them. Everything we do is on Channel 3. Our meetings usually last about an hour, hour and a half, but they replay that thing so many times. When people see me, they think that's my full-time job, So.
Thank you so much. That was a great update. Longevity has its place, and sounds like you're quite knowledgeable and you enjoy being on the board.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, do we have any other questions by any other committee members?
No, I mean, before we ask, you explained what's going on very well. I really appreciate
He did an
that.
eloquent job of explaining. Anybody else?
Approval.
I would just
Second? Huh?
comment, appreciate
I know that's right.
the service.
Yes.
I know it takes a lot of thought, and so we appreciate that.
I
Are you the
appreciate
longest serving member on that board?
No.
Wow.
Steve Corbett has been there longer than myself.
Wow, 18 years.
That's a long time. But we want to commend you, and it's been moved and seconded. We can take it to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposers, obviously. You stand approved.
Thank you so much.
Ayes have it. Thank you so
Thank
much.
y'all very
And we
much.
have a parking pass
Yes,
if
we
you're
do.
in need of it. Thank you so much for your
Okay,
service.
thank you.
Next, we have the Planning Commission, the reappointment of Mr. Greg Atkins for a term expiring March 31st, 2022. Also, we invite up the reappointment of Ms. Jessica Farr for a term expiring March 31st, 2022. Welcome and thank you for your service. Are both of you registered voters in Metro Nashville? You're residents, of course you are, if you're registered voters. Do you serve on any other commissions or boards?
Not for Metro.
Not for Metro, not for Metro. Okay, tell us a little bit about yourself, ladies.
I am Jessica Farr. I am originally from California, but I have now been here for 18 years. I, in my day job, worked for the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, but in the days when we had a Nashville office, I was based here. Now I can just work remotely. And I have a background in community development with them, and now I do bank examinations looking at how well banks are investing in low-income areas.
Wow.
I've been on the Planning Commission for 4 years. I have a master's degree in planning, so this is the only time I've actually gotten to use my education, and it's been a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it.
That's exciting. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
You're serving in your gift.
I am. Good.
Yeah, obviously you are, young man.
Well, thank you for having me. My name's Greg Atkins. I'm currently the president and CEO of the Tennessee Hospitality and Tourism Association. I've worked in various capacities in state government for a long time as former council member. Appreciate what y'all do. And
You get it, right?
I used to be chair of this committee, I think.
You told me that once
remember.
before.
So I really appreciate what you do. I know y'all put in a lot of time.
Thank you so much. Questions?
Yes, I really
Councilor
appreciate, what you do because you committee is the longest, like sometimes around 7 hours, 8 hours, as late as midnight. So for that service, really appreciate it. But, in your role, because you have certain set of decision making, you have to decide based on the policy. So sometimes when you hear from the community, you may understand their plea, but you have to say no or yes based on, the guideline. So do you have any, comment or challenge by doing so, and how do you see the challenge or, excitement of as your role?
We definitely have that issue come up a lot. We have a very good staff, and we can ask a lot of questions of our staff to help us with trying to figure that out. Because obviously there's a lot of things that do come forward where something is consistent with policy, but it's against what the community really wants. But we have to be aware that we're thinking in a macro perspective and really trying to, the community also had a voice in developing Nashville Next, and that's our policy. But it's very good that the staff listens to that and says, hey, is there a reason why we need to go out and look at this neighborhood again, think about a policy change? and then they do the work and bring that back to us so we can incorporate the community's voice. But we also have to be consistent with what we're charged with doing.
Yeah, and I would add, well, I agree with all of Jessica's comments, and we try to have workshops and training so that we're making the decisions and doing what's legally right. One of the things that is important to me is that the Planning Commission not get sued a lot, and that we follow our policies and procedures. The other thing that is important to me as a former council member is making sure that it's fair and that the council member always has the opportunity to speak as long as they want. And so we take it very seriously that the council ultimately has the power to zone, and that we try to guide the policy with community input. So I think it's really important for me to make sure that it's a fair process and that the council member always gets heard.
That's great.
And hopefully you guys feel that way when you
Oh, yes.
come in front of the commission.
Definitely. I think you are doing that balance very well.
Now, sometimes, obviously, there are limitations and disagreements, and we have to work through those. And I feel like we try our hardest, and, when you're in a city that is under probably one of the fastest growing cities in the country, there are a lot of give and take. So it's about balance, too, and sometimes it can be tough to say no to a council member, so.
You've been in that seat and you know how that feels. Right?
Yes, I do. But there is sometimes a way around it. There's a way around that, and sometimes we work with the council on zone changes, general text changes, and we can work through that.
Any other question? You have one? You're recognized.
Well, I wanted to echo the thanks, because I think between this one and BZA, biggest time commitments on a volunteer basis, and you really got to want to do it, and so appreciate that. Two things. This is an opportunity because we don't get to have people from the commission interact with us that often. If there's anything that you guys wish that we would do or change or tweak or do differently, I think we'd be interested in hearing that anytime, but especially now. And then I got one thing after that.
Well, so a lot of times we get requests from council members on a rezoning or changing the policy of an entire area, and that would mean that we have to have a lot of public input, a lot of public meetings. We have a lot of requests. I think some of our staff members work a lot of overtime. Honestly, we've had some staff turnover, and y'all know that a little bit. And so a couple of things that I think that the commission, we need to look at is, how many positions do we have, how much, our staff getting paid appropriately for like jobs in other cities. We didn't ask for a budget increase this year. We got one last year, working with Bob. Our biggest challenge now is finding a new executive director, and so a lot of times they can be very strenuous, and I would say the staff works a lot. They work a lot of hours. A lot of them work overtime. A lot of them work not a normal 8 to 5 job. They are working nights. Public hearings can be very stressful for a planner sometimes because the public, as you all know, can get excited sometimes.
Excited. That's a great attitude.
So I would say, every department I know has some of those issues. Maybe working closer with codes on a few issues. I would just say that there's some staffing challenges, and our number one priority now is trying to find a new executive director. What do you say?
Yes, for sure. Oh, no, I think you covered a lot.
How's the search going for that?
Well, I first want to commend our HR folks. I think
They're gone.
Oh, they're gone. They left right before I could give them a shout out. Now I can tell you the truth. No, Shannon and Jane have really been great to work with. We opened it up. Doug Sloan left right at the end of the year last year. We sent out the notice. We did a national search. We got about 60 or so applicants.
That's good.
I felt very strong. I think as a commission, we felt very strongly about the process being diverse, making sure that the business community was represented, the neighborhoods and the community was represented, making sure that it was diverse from a racial perspective, a gender perspective. And so we created a very diverse expert panel committee made up of several diverse folks that had from several different interests, MDHA, parks, the design center, community. People like Stuart Clifton is on it. Council members were on it. Council Lady Allen is on the final committee. And so we wanted to make sure that it was a diverse committee. Both of the committees, we first had an expert panel that reviewed all of the 60 applications. They got it down to 5 folks. And so the second panel, which is now currently meeting, will finish that this week, Thursday. And we have some internal candidates and some really great external candidates. And so the process is going really well. Hopefully we'll resolve this within the next month or two. We've been in contact with the mayor's office, but I would tell you that we have an amazing HR team that Jane Madden is one of the best executive search folks in the country. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, it's going well.
I think it's exciting.
I think it's going well, and then we'll get it down to 3 candidates in that last panel, and then it will go in front of the commission, and the commissioners will decide. But we.
You have another question?
I have 2 questions to ask.
Okay, well, let's finish with Councilman Mendez, and then you'll be recognized, okay? Thank you so much.
I guess this is more a comment. I know you all do it to varying degrees, but I would like to encourage continuing to get out and drive the county on a regular basis. I know you guys do that to different degrees, but I think it really makes a difference.
But I think Bob is planning, if and when whoever that executive director is, hopefully they'll drive with each one of you, and we'll encourage that. And if they don't, we'll fire them.
But no, I agree with you from the commissioner perspective that it's really important that we get out and see the items that are, it's very different when you're seeing what it looks like on the street versus what we're getting in our staff report.
Yeah, especially one that always jumps out in my head is out in southeast Nashville, where Blue Hole and Mount View and Antioch Pike and all those roads come together. You really can't wrap your brains around how horrible it is until you see it. And some of the development in North Nashville, where entire blocks are being raised and rebuilt, you really got to see it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Council Lady?
That was one of my comments. He must have just read my brain. Of course, I represent that Antioch Southeast area, and none of my neighbors have any confidence in the Planning Commission. They don't even want to go at this point, which is kind of sad. And one of the things I would like to see this committee do is have more variety of people on it from different geographical locations, because it tends to be very heavy on people in the urban part of the city and not people out in the rural area. And I've witnessed that with people living in Madison when they come, people in the Whites Creek area, and also people in southeast, Davidson County when we come. On occasions, I've noticed, and I go back and watch some of them. I can't watch 10 hours of it, but the few times we've been, we've never won anything.
No, I'm just teasing.
We don't go that often because neighbors are not interested in going because they don't feel like it's objective. And then the other thing, most of the time it's apartments and it's the same conversation about infrastructure, and it's expensive, and so we know how that goes. It's there's no money. But I agree with him. That was one of the points I was going to make. Our area, with the density we have, we're not putting in the infrastructure improvements, so a lot of the development, the reason why people are very sour against it is because we don't have that infrastructure in to accompany the development we have, and it does create, like we have now, extremely overcrowded schools and safety concerns, like you mentioned. And it is a little discouraging when you go before the committee that most of the people don't really have a concept of the area. They think about Hickory Hollow as it was, many, many years ago. In fact, one of the commissioners said I hadn't been out there since 1980-something. And so, it behooves us to have people on the board that does not get out and drive the county, see these areas in that way, because a map from the commissions sometimes don't show it all. So when you go out and you actually see it, I think it gives you a little insight into, I went out to Whites Creek so I could just see, let me see what they're talking about. So it helped me out a lot to not just look at that map, but to drive out there and say, okay, I get what's going on. But the other question I was going to ask you, Greg, is because we have had a lot of feedback from people in the community. One of the things is, I know you work in hospitality and do lobbying, and one of the things that people talked about is how can we keep our boards and commissions objective when we have people who are in, who lobby. And we had that with our stormwater with another person that was appointed on it. Because one of the things we've been pushed to do is provide transparency on these boards. And so people look at it, it's like, how can you be objective when you represent, for example, the hospitality industry, and we're coming in and talking about citing a hotel. Do you recuse yourselves for those types of votes when they're on things like that? And
No, I'm glad you brought it up. I wanted to continue my service to the community, and this is obviously a volunteer job, and I spend more hours than I would like to admit doing things for the commission. But I make it very clear that I recuse myself on any specific restaurant or hotel issues, even though I don't have a personal issue, a personal stake in them, but the association may. And so I'm very cognizant of that. I think over the years, hopefully you all feel that, I'm balanced. I have an obvious conflict on short-term rentals because at the state legislature, I lobby against short-term rentals. And I always recused myself, and I did not go to the meeting. I was not in the meeting. I didn't talk to staff about it. And so, yes, there are obvious conflicts. I mean, I think that when you have developers on the Planning Commission, which I think is a good thing, that there's a conflict. If you have community people on the commission and the community doesn't want it, and you're a neighborhood activist, you also have a conflict. So there are conflicts within our system because we are very professional. I live in Creepaw, I live in South Nashville. So I live right near Nolensville Road, a lot of challenging issues. I don't live in the southeast corner of Nashville, I live in the south. But I live on the other side of the tracks. As some people say, I represented, Nolensville Road for a long time, and so I understand those issues, and I'm very careful about recusing myself. I would tell you, and so would many council members, Councilman Elrod, I'm a pro-business person, but I am one of the biggest neighborhood advocates in our area. I downzoned 1,500 acres one time as a council member. And that was against the Planning Commission. I'm just saying that,
well,
that
and
I
that's what we
listen.
see.
So I feel like I've been balanced, and
well, we would like to
you're
have the
being
same
fair.
level of consideration when we come. In the 7 years I've been on council and come before the Planning Commission, not just with things that I had, but things with, supporting other council members that have been out in our area, we've never had a favorable opinion. And I've watched, for example, a very similar case that was done, Nina had in her district, that was allowed to be downzoned, whereas we had another one in another council person's district that was not. So I do think that, and I do believe that people who serve on that Planning Commission, they understand their neighborhood and they'll support their neighborhood, like Whites Creek and so forth. So I just think that, I just ask that you remain objective and try to be objective. And what I would like to see in the future is for us to tap other community members out in the city to serve on the boards and keep it changing and not have the same people for extended period of time, so we can have some fresh faces and fresh perspectives, kind of like on the council, we all rotate. But thank you for your service, because it makes a long day. It makes a long day.
Big difference.
Yeah, so I appreciate it.
All right, do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Seems like the ayes have it. You stand approved. We appreciate you.
Thank you all
Here's some
very much.
parking tickets in case you may need them.
Okay,
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks a lot.
We appreciate you. Next, we have the Board of Zoning Appeals, the reappointment of Ms. Cynthia Chappelle for a term expiring February the 26th, 2023. Hello there, how are you?
Hello, great.
Obviously, I have to ask you these questions. Are you a resident of Davidson County?
I am.
Are you a registered voter?
I am.
Do you serve on any other boards or commissions?
I do not.
Okay, tell us a few things about yourself. This is a reappointment possibly, so tell us about your first appointment.
Certainly. I was appointed by then Mayor Carl Dean. This was my first board appointment with Metro. I've enjoyed it very much this last 5 years. When I was asked to serve at the time, what the Board of Zoning Appeals was handling primarily was actually land use, or more typical land use. I need a garage to be larger. I need a side setback variance. As you, I'm sure, know, in the last 3 years, we've also taken on jurisdiction over short-term rental property appeals from our zoning administrator, as well as now the new sidewalk ordinance request for variances. So our dockets have about quadrupled in that period of time.
So how do you feel about it?
Well, I think I'll speak for all of us. It's a 7-member board. I think we're all very proud of the work that we try to do there. It has become more difficult because we meet twice a month, or first and third Thursday every month, and those dockets run about 4 to 5 hours, which takes a little bit of time. However, we, I think, with staff are looking at some other ways that we can change the manner in which we present. Those hearings are presented and heard, and hopefully that'll be better for council members to come and appear, as well as members of the public.
Okay, I'd like to open it up to the council committee for questions. Okay, Councilman?
Again, hi. I guess this isn't a question. I mean, I just want to address the issue that we've started getting emails about this afternoon about the short-term rental appeals. And I mean, my view is, I mean, I've gone, watched the BZA, I've seen a whole bunch of these short-term rental appeals, and no, they don't all turn out exactly the way I would love for them to turn out. But we've got a volunteer board that is working very hard, is sophisticated on the issues. We keep moving the ball on what the rules are every 6 months for the last couple of years. And I've got no critique about the job that the BZA is doing or that Ms. Chappell is doing. You know, my view is that if we've got a problem as a city with what the results are of the BZA on short-term rentals, we ought to try having the same laws in effect for more than 6 months and let it get settled in. So I mean, I respect the neighborhood folks who have sent us the letter and are here today. But my view is that if we have a city have a problem with the results of these things, picking on the volunteer board members who are providing the service is not the place where we should direct it. Short-term rentals are a work in progress still, and we need to keep working on it.
Thank you. Council Lady, you Dow, you're recognized.
Thank you. I want to just piggyback on that. I kind of share some of your same sentiments on the short-term rentals, but I think with Ms. Chappell, it's more than just short-term rentals. We've had complaints about people in the community who do not feel that when they come before the BZA that they're being viewed objectively. A lot of what I've heard from some of the constituents, and we've only been, for disclosure purpose, twice in the 7 years I've been here, because most of the ones we don't have an issue with. So, and we may have had 4 in the whole time I've been on council, so it's not a regular committee that my area goes to. But what I've heard from people, even when you were appointed the first time, people in the Green Hills area called around and asked that you not be appointed back, because I was on this committee back then. And I believe in giving people a fair opportunity, and so we did appoint you, and I still hear some of the same concerns from people in the community throughout. And one of the things that they feel like is that when they come before the BZA, a couple of things is that the meetings are long, and by the end, it's kind of, that, if they're at the end of the docket, they don't get the fair amount of attention to be heard for issues that they have. The second thing that I heard was that they felt like there was a more bias to having an attorney. So if they come in their neighborhood group, like for example, a group came from Madison, and they shared, well, you know, they're not going to give you a fair opportunity unless you have an attorney. And so is this a board where we have to, as a community group, hire an attorney to come before you? And I don't think our constituents, and they shouldn't feel that way. They should feel that if they don't have legal counsel or not, that they're able to come there and be heard, and have someone, you know, rule on their issue objectively. The other thing that I heard from people calling, because we've got a lot of letters and a lot of phone calls, and it was not just short-term rentals, so I just want to be very clear about that. The other thing that I heard was from my constituents. I wasn't at the meeting. I was in Charlotte, and it was brought up on camera that isn't this a piece of legislation that the council had deferred multiple times, which was not true. That created a little bit of hardship for me because I had a bunch of neighbors calling saying, why did you defer this all this time and not inform us? That was never corrected on my behalf, so I still have people out in my district upset because they felt like I deferred this, and did not show up at our particular issue that we had. With regard to zoning. And the other thing is just the sidewalk ordinance. I've heard people say that it's not been, you know, handled objectively when it comes to some people being allowed variances, whereas some people come with very similar cases that they're not. And the key thing that I've heard is the attorney involved in it. And last but not least, you know, with our variance, you know, what constitutes an variance? And I have to say this on record, our neighbors, I mean, one lady was crying coming out of the meeting that we had because she felt like she was not heard. She felt like that you overlooked what she had to say. And then the other thing is she watched you, you know, put your hand down like that to tell the other people, like, you know, when they were explaining to them, like, the map that the attorney showed was an old map and did not show the permanent fixtures on the piece of property, that it was old when they were trying to say, this is an old map, this is not the map of current, that it was like, you know, we don't really care about that, you know, you know, this is the case at hand and we're moving forward. And so, you know, I question whether or not you really want to serve on the board, and do you have the time to serve on it, because it is a long board. And the other thing is that I think when we're assigning people to boards, we have to create a dynamic where people work together. And some of the other voices seems to me to be subdued a little bit because you have a strong personality on the board, and so do David Ewing. And it tends to be that you're making the decisions and the rest of the people are just going along. And so those are the concerns that have been expressed to me about your service on the board. And I'm not the only one to have them. Everybody has them on this council that's been shared. I think we all try to appoint people at the courtesy of the mayor because we want to support our mayor and appoint choices that they make. But when I have this much community outpouring, I think, you know, it's incumbent upon me to do something, you know, and not just go with the status quo. So I won't be able to support you today for those reasons. And I just want you to be aware of that.
Certainly. Do I have an opportunity to respond?
Of course.
Thank you. I guess this would probably a more simple process if people were aware in advance what might be brought up. And certainly when Ms. McDowell references that, quote, everybody and numerous people have had things to say about me in a negative manner, I would be happy to address those specifically if you'd like to share those.
I'll send the emails.
I'd be happy for you to. And earlier would have been better, but to move
They're
on
still coming, so
with
but
this
I'll send them.
evening. Thank you, Ms. McDowell. We, I believe I do have time to serve on the board. I'm interested in providing this as a community service. This is what I've done, I believe, very well for the last 5 years, and I'm sorry to hear evidence to the contrary as to the personal things that have been said here. As far as the board goes, we do not always have unanimous votes on many, many items that come before us. I would say that, strong personality or not, I think we have others on the board that have very strong feelings about certain parts of the county, about certain matters that come before us, different types of legislation that we're asked to interpret. And so I do not feel that this is a board that is subdued in any way. And so I think it's important for that to be said.
Thank you. Council Lady, you're recognized.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for serving on the board. This is one of the hardest board because, you know, again, volunteer, but long hour, but you have to serve like a pseudo, like a judgeship. And so, you cannot talk in particular case as a rule, but do you, I as a council member sometimes, don't agree upon every single decision. I feel like, well, maybe you would follow like a short-term rental, maybe more strict, way to follow our intention, or sidewalk. Maybe you could give less lenient way, but I found you to be very logical. You make decision based on the rule and provided from us. But I just want to hear from you, so how do you, based on your judgment or appeal decision, when the case appear to you, what would be the base of your decision to be fair and not capricious?
I appreciate that, an opportunity to answer that. I would say first, the work that comes before this board is limited to the extent it can be by the work of our Board of Zoning Appeals, Bill Herbert, who is here this evening. Metro is very fortunate to have someone as competent and able in that position, because it allows us to be as efficient as possible given what we're asked to deal with. So of the material that comes before us, we really were formed as to ensure that citizens have due process. We're not necessarily here for an equitable purpose. So we are determining whether we agree with the zoning administrator's decision on a regular basis, and we're ensuring that due process has been followed, and we're ensuring to the best of our ability that the legislation that you have put before us is followed. In making those decisions, we receive information in advance. We review everything that's before us in advance to the extent that we're able. Oftentimes, people bring information to us that day. We're required to look at it that day. That certainly contributes to the length of the meetings, because we want to give all the citizens who may not know that you can present information in advance the opportunity to be heard fairly. And so that sort of goes back to Ms. McDowell's concern about citizens and the length of the meetings. I would also say that it really makes no difference to me whether a constituent has an attorney. In fact, one of my favorite things about serving on this board is actually watching citizens come forward and articulate their concerns and their passions, and they do it in an extremely effective manner. So I would say the majority of our cases that come before us are non-attorney cases. I find that to be the best way that it works. Sometimes, I would say rarely, we have cases with attorneys on both sides. We have to handle all those cases, get the same amount of input as the others do. In making our decisions, I believe if you watch, all of this is available, if you watch our deliberations again and again, sometimes one of us will lead the discussion on one case, we try to somebody else. In fact, we try, I think, for everybody to have input. Sometimes we agree early on. Oftentimes we have lengthy discussions about what we're going to do. But I feel very strongly that each of the members on this board votes the way that they see best.
Ms. Chappelle, and we're going to, in the interest of time, it's 20 after, and our meeting starts at 6:30. In the interest of time, we're going to have you have some final comments when this is over, just so you can have a final word. Is that okay? No, because I feel like I'm cutting you off. But Councilman Rosenberg would like to have a say, and then after that, we'd like Councilman Russ Pulley to have a say.
Thank you. I just want any input, Mr. Herbert.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to piggyback off a little bit of what Council Lady Johnson said. Is the Board of Zoning Appeals a little bit unique because it has to weigh the law, that's state law, federal law, as well as the law the council gives to the board against the facts that are presented in each case. So, like Council Lady Johnson said, the BZA is not necessarily just a board of equity. They've got law that they must apply. And sometimes that comes out with some difficult decisions but those are hard decisions that the board has to make. And I hope that with the dockets that the BZA is having, that everybody here could please appreciate the amount of time and effort and consideration that these board members are putting in. I wholly support Ms. Chappell's reappointment and respectfully request that you please reappoint her.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to serve.
Thank you. Councilman Pulley.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to say a brief word on behalf of Cynthia, who is also my constituent. As Mr. Herbert just articulated, the BZA deals with laws and the application of these laws and appeals of zoning administrators' decisions relative to these laws. I think it's nice that they take what we say into consideration and the consideration of the neighbors, but it's also very, very important that they take a good hard look at the laws and apply them appropriately. I would say that it's my understanding Ms. Chappell is a very, very respected member of the board, and I also would point you toward her legal career, which is very distinguished, culminating in being a finalist for the Division II Criminal Trial Court job, which is a gubernatorial appointment, and that legal background serves her very, very well on this board, and I think it's a vital component to go along with community interests, so I would offer my support for her reappointment to this board.
Okay. Okay. But Council Lady Erica Gilmore raised her hand before you all moved, so I'd like to recognize her.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to say for Councilmember Dow, I had written a letter, I think, for this particular piece that was in question, and I think there is some validity. We want to follow the law, but at the same time, we do want to make sure that the citizens, when they come before us, if we disagree or we take a certain position based on the law, that we've explained it in a way that they feel comfortable and that they understand it. Because a lot of times our citizens just do not understand the process. So even if they may not like the way that it is handled, but they can articulate it in a way, well, you know, the BZA didn't uphold it, but they didn't uphold it for the following reasons. I think that that's important as well. And that's all I wanted to share, because sometimes things happen in council, but we say, okay, it was because of this rule, we weren't able to do it because of this law. And I think that would maybe clear up some of the misconceptions, you know, sometimes whether it's intentional or not, but at least people will know how they arrived at the decision.
Okay, and I just have one last thing, and we're going to move on. Like I said, we're going to have you have a final word. And my comment, I guess it would be, knowing that there are some concerns that Council Lady Dow and a couple other people kind of mentioned, I'm wondering how you process that in terms of moving forward. I'm just wondering. Or it doesn't really factor in.
Well, I'm not sure I understand the question. Are you asking me, do I think we should?
I'm just asking you, with the concerns that have been articulated, how do you digest that?
I mean, I'm a lawyer. I'm in arguments all day, every day.
Okay, beautiful answer. Thank you so much. I appreciate your response to that question. Maybe I didn't articulate it clearly. Okay, thank you.
Can I just add one little thing, and I'm going to be quiet?
Sure.
I understand the responsibility that you have, a judiciary responsibility, quasi-judiciary. But there are some things, like when we have, like for example, you know, in the situation we had where we have a urban UDO overlay down the road that says anything permanently attached to a piece of property, it is in violation unless it meets these requirements. And when you say, you know, they do give an explanation. The explanation is that it's not there when it's permanently attached and it's there, but then you don't go out and look at it. You don't look at the evidence. A lawyer takes a picture and crops out the area that they poured concrete and attached a building on, and you say, well, the picture has nothing on it, so I'm gonna make my decision based upon that. There are some issues with that. You know, there are some issues with that, because I've observed overlays being enforced all across this county, and my neighbors cannot understand why a variance is granted on an overlay because the person can't afford to hook up to the sewer. So what that does is it put me as a council person in a position of having to explain to every business down that corridor why this person got a variance and then they can't have a variance, you know. So I do think that more, I know you're a criminal attorney, you argue all day, and you probably feel like, I'm doing everything right and I'm not doing anything wrong, but I hope some of the comments, that I've shared with you, because we have hundreds of emails, that you listen to them, that you heard them, and that you'll take them in account as you're rendering decisions when you go forward. I think that's
Okay. Yeah.
good.
Thank you. Oh, do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposers?
Me.
Okay, would be noted, please. The ayes have it. We stand approved and we appreciate you. And we have a parking pass.
I'm walking.
Okay.
Okay, you're recording. Oh, you got it down? At this time, we're gonna have to be as expeditious as possible. We have 4 minutes before.
What's that?
Let's see, we have a resolution, and it's for 4 minimum hours of continuing educational training for all Metro Boards of Equalization. Can I have a motion? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Second.
Yeah, second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, any opposed? Let's go with that. Next, we have Resolution 1181, Ms. Haywood. It's to approve the elections of certain notaries. We talked about that for the Davidson County.
Second.
Second, okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, let's propose the
Second.
second.
Second. Did you second it, so
Move as amended. Yeah, as amended, yes, we definitely do. Let's vote on as amended, all in favor, as amended, aye. Any opposers? Thank you. Okay, next, move right along, we have a letter, let's see, this is 1182, honors James Shaw Jr., whose hair resumed. Sorry, say all in favor, aye. Okay. Okay, this is Resolution 1183, Van Reese, Karen Johnson, and other recognizes president and founder of the Nazi College.
Is anyone on the bill who's in?
yes, I am.
It was a letter of approval.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, letter of
I think it's
approval. All in
Nosy.
favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
not the Nazi.
I hear Ms. Johnson.
So worried about that pronunciation for a minute.
We have a letter of approval from Karen Johnson. In her absence, this recognizes the 50th anniversary of Lakeview Elementary Design Center. They had a big thing out there, didn't they? That was so nice. Okay, letter of approval. All in favor? Aye. Nobody opposes? Okay. Next, we have 1185, that's Murphy Allen and others, and that recognizes May 13th as Mother's Day in Nashville.
Who's on the bill?
Me.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Sorry.
Second.
Okay, second, all in favor? Aye. And do you need a late file? We have a late file.
Colby.
Yes, I'm sorry.
There's a letter.
There's a letter. Toby, could you come on?
Yes, absolutely.
We want to see your beautiful face.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Non-substantive typographical changes.
Okay, this is amendment to resolution number 1161. Whereas the Board of Commissioners, MDHA, has approved MDHA's purchase of the project site and authorizes the Executive Director of MDHA to take all actions and on behalf of MDHA require the project from owners leased to the project site and the project to owners. The third is to enter into in lieu of tax agreement with the owner. A copy of this is attached, Herito, as Exhibit A, Sledge.
There's a late filed amendment that's
Okay.
purely technical and is well beyond my intelligence, and Mike can explain it if needed, but all it does is refer to the land definition.
Legal description of the property.
And 11, all in favor, it's like all in favor?
Aye.
Sensitive, any opposers? No. And we're so good, we got 1 minute. And 1162 is same?
It's the exact same thing, yes.
All in favor? Aye. I read the law.
Job as an option. Move to adjourn.
And you move to adjourn, all in favor to adjourn, second? Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned.